Tikulandireni ku program ya The Constitution ya wiki ino tinanga ndi office so hawa iri program yetu mafatsa ndoyimira anthu pamilandu kambirana nkhani zokhudza dziko lino ndelero tifati kambirana nkhani yokhudza malamulo olimbana ndi mchitidwe ozembetsa ndalama komanso mchitidwe wa zauchigawenga. Tili ndi bambo Jai Banda oyimira anthu pamilandu. Bambo Banda tikulandireni ku program yetu ya The Constitution. Tiyambe ndi furukuza jamba lamulo limene limaliti chani bene. Ine furukuza nchichewa in English imati chani fa constitution ija basically yambi choyamba nali nchizungu. Imati chani lamulo limene.
Panopo tikumainena kuti ya India Money Laundering and Financing of Terrorism Act.
Okay.
Yes.
Ndiye anthu kumada bora. Mukumala kumachitika terrorism. Yabira babe. Kumala bora kuti akochika zauchigawenga. Era kamukaja kuti. Yabira babe.
I'll just give you an example. Kuti kare, you know, kamuza kuramura. I don't know, achikurira atakukumbukira kuti there was actually a plane which was hijacked and landed at Chileka Airport. Of course, antu awawa amenana panga hijack plane yoyo, they had differences with their employers in South Africa, Achina Oppenheimer. So Ndegeja was forced kuti ichite land pa Chileka Airport, you know, and of course it had to take our army, you know, to make sure that nothing went further. So I think that is just an indication yonena kuti terrorism ija ita kuchitika even ku Malawi kunoko.
Okay.
And then china chimene ndinganene, if you recall ku Tanzania ndi ku Kenya kuti ma embassy ku America umene koko they were bombed, you know. So things like those which can happen kumayiko Africa muno ngati Kenya, Tanzania, zimene zozo zimasonyezaso kuti zinthu za terrorism can also anytime happen kunoko, you know, because you see cases of terrorism are well planned, and if they decide to strike, it is usually so sudden and violent. Then chinaso chimene ndinganene for those who recall, the time I was working with a law firm called Sakrani Gowan Company. If those who remember, kunazabwera Central Intelligence, CIA.
The Americans.
The Americans. And themselves, you know, together with the Malawi police, if people recall, they arrested 5 individuals. You know, that was 22nd June 2003. And Alamangandu 5 men were abducted. Kunoko Kumalawi. Yes. We are alleged to be Al Qaeda. I remember that time I was working at Sakrani Gowan Company, and myself and the lawyer was working with Shabel Latif. We were making an application, what is called habeas corpus, of trying to find out the reason why they were being why they were abducted. But within a short period, they were flown out of Malawi by the CIA. You know, that was in June 2003. So things like this actually show that, you know, terrorism can happen anywhere, and we should be on our feet. And I think that is the reason why the law on financing of terrorism, you know, there was pressure that we should put it into Malawi. It should be enacted in Malawi.
So yes. A bit of a background. Zinaenda bwanji for this law to come into effect, to be made a law. What happened? Who were the stakeholders? Yeah, just a brief background.
I mean, for this law to come into effect, I can say Of course, myself personally,
Yeah.
I played a very big role.
Yeah.
In fact, we were engaged, you know, I think in the year is it 2000 to bring awareness about money laundering. During that time, it was soon after the multi-party democracy when Dr. Bakele Muluzi was still president, you know, and the Americans actually put in, you know, pressure that this law has to be put in effect. And it was not just for terrorism, but money laundering, you know, and financing of terrorism. Like I still remember during that period, we had you know, ministers who would say things like you know, there was no need for that law to be put in effect of money laundering, because we had the fiscal police who used to deal with things like those. But then what we wanted was specific legislation to deal with money laundering. In regards to terrorism, I also recall we had ministers like Honorable Uladi Musa, who said then that there's no terrorism in Malawi. There's no need, in fact, for enacting that law. But after some time, you know, lots of sensitization. There was a lot of sensitization in regard to the law on money laundering. Nobody really understood it, including even my fellow legal practitioners, even judges, even the Anti-Corruption Bureau, members of parliament. And I remember we were engaged, like ourselves, myself, with the Reserve Bank of Malawi that time, like to sensitize the members of parliament so that they understood what money laundering was, so that they would enact it into legislation in Malawi. I mean, happily in the year 2006 August, if I recall, the law on money laundering, Malawi and terrorism was enacted.
Mukamati money laundering. Chichioti mati kuzembetsa ndalama. Ndijani. Yes, zikumveka bazo kuti money laundering. It's like to clean, it's like to Komano, what does it really mean in detail? Mukamati money laundering. Amakali munthu wadani.
You see, ndakhala ndikupereka chitsanzo cha money laundering kuti anthu amvesese kuti zinachokera pati. Kwa ineyo, in my view, umene ndinaverengera ndizonena kuti kare like ku America, ndikukupatsa an example
kuti limvetsetse
pari anthu ena ake oti amapanga laundry business. Laundry ndikuja timapitisa chani zochapa ku laundry kuti zikatani zikachapidwe, timapitisa kutani ku laundry. Ndiyeno panari timati mamafia oti amapanga zinthu zoti kapena kupeza ndarama muchamba or mu prostitution or za gambling, kuti amazakhala ni ndarama zambiri. Nawo zimene amachita kuti abise ndarama zijazo, iwo anakhala ndi malondri malo ochapisa zovala. Ndiye what zimene ankapanga ndizoti akapeza ndarama zija kuchoka like kwa kuba, you know, akafuna kuzipitisa ku banki, amazapitisa let's say the following day ni ndarama zakuchani zakulondri kuphatikiza ndarama zijazo kuziyika ku banki. Ndiye pamenepo anthu aku banki amangoti ndarama zija zikuchoka kutiko
akaona malondri ajalipo ambiri ndizomwezi ndarama zake
zikuchoka ku laundry kujako. So pamene zinatuluka paja zonena kuti money laundering, you know, zija zonena kuti muta perhaps kuchita create ka business kena kake kuti iweyo ukudziwa kuti ukupeza ndarama kuchoka kwina ol kugurisa chamba but utakukaratika business you know ol mtown kuika shop ol saloon you know yoti uzitani izikapeza ko uzita
drama zojokera
zikuchokera kuchani
kusaluni
ko ka bottle stool
baba show
ya ndieno ndarama zimakhala kuti zikuchokera but sizikuchoka konko zikuchoka kaya kugurisa chamba you know that's why mazapeza kuti antu akuna uja business je kumuyendera but ena kupanga business ya choncho sikuteka ndini kudabwa kuti ndarama izona bottle store yoka or ndini basi yako yoka you know so laundering ija imayesa kubisa ndarama kuti ndarama zimene zapezedwa mu let's say Cuba or whatever you know zisaoneke ngati ndizakuba zizioneka ngati ni ndarama zochoka business zeni
ndiye money laundering
ndiye timati money laundering
chabwera ndiri ndikambe zokhudzira ndithu mukamati proceeds of serious crime mwafotokoza mungu khudzapo komano zilipo zingati zilipo sabe ndiziti ngati proceeds of serious crimes zimakhala anthu azitenga zima proceeds zimene kana kuti ndalama zimene for example
akati proceeds of serious crime ndi ndalama zochoka ku crime mwamvesesa proceeds of serious crime right okay muntu apange like kidnapping you know ndalama zochoka konko ndi proceeds of
serious crime
ndalama zochoka let's say ku fraud ndalama zochoka ku theft armed robbery you know ndalama zochoka ku selling Indian hemp you know all those we say proceeds of crime you know ndi ndalama zimene zimachoka mu an illegal you know imene tingati an illegal enterprise yoti sizimene uchoka kongo it's not coming from a legitimate source but from an illegitimate source so those are proceeds of crime
illicit trade or illicit something that is illicit
illicit trade kaya yankura chongo zochoka kongo that's what it is. It's proceeds of crime you know
so how does Izizi fit into Laundering now? You're talking about process of serious crime, you're talking about money laundering. So gwiza na banye ndera Laundering onena kuti Malawi atonesesa kuti ndotetezeka kapena ndi malamulo oyang'anira nkhani zokhudza terrorism, zokhudza money laundering, zogwiza na banje. What is the connection?
You see, the connection is proceeds of crime. Ndalama zija zapezedwa kuchoka let's say ku armed robbery. Now you don't want kuti people know that it's coming from, you want to clean that money. That's where money laundering comes into part. The other thing which I would want people to understand, because ndimangomva chiri chose ndi money laundering. You know muntu akangopanga kantu kena kake ndi money laundering. No. Money laundering only comes in if the money is coming from an illegal source and then you want to make it appear as if it is clean. The money has to come from an illegal source. That's why usually there's an outlying offense, you know, before you can just bring in money laundering. Usually vakamapanga prosecute the money laundering pama karaso kaya theft or whatever, then they would also put money laundering kuti muntu amayesa kutani kuonetsa as if that money is coming from an illegal source.
Nde kumalawi kunoko tikambeno, let's talk about terrorism now. Izi zauchigawika ka zauchifambazi. Malamulo akumalawi kuno kamati izi zinthu zauchifamba. This is an act of terror. Context yake amanena chani. Kapena amananthauza chani kuti munthu achita chani. Akamati munthu achita zauchigawika kapena zauchifamba or terror. This is terror.
Yeah, of course amanena kuti someone who commits a terrorist act.
What is
that? Is like serious damage to property, he endangers a person's life, you know, zija mumagwiritsa ma-explosives futi, you know, that act is sometimes it's viewed as a terrorist act.
Nanga ndalama izizi makamba kuti ndalama zakazitenga kumapanga fund terrorism act. That is also terror.
Yes, because in fact the law which we have makes it an offense kuti mutu upange fund like terrorism or uthandize anthu oti akufuna kupanga za terrorism. So there's actually specific legislation which is there that terrorist financing is a criminal offense in Malawi.
Simbali iso ndiyina baba yokha.
Yes, ndiyina. Terrorist financing is also a criminal. I think I can't remember whether it's section 43, you know, of the Financial Crimes Act. Yes.
Chabwino. Yeah, mwandira program yako the Constitution pano pakanema times tukuyesa ndi mambo jai Banda tukambera nkhani zokhudza terrorism komanso ndithu nkhani zokhudza proceeds of serious crime ndi zina zoto ziti ndalama zopezeka kudzera ku mchitidwe oletseka kapena zinthu zoletsedwa ndi zina zonero farona kuti Malawi kuno amati chani komanso kuti zimayenda motani. Tibwerenso posachedwa. Ya ilipitiriza program ya the Constitution pano pakanema times tioneka bonso pano nkhani yokhudza mmene dziko lino limayendetsera nkhani zokhudza milandu ngati imeneyi. Kodi Malawi ali ma courts or specific courts ngati mmene ena akufuna kuchitira pano kuti ayi kukhale special ngati makota oyima paokha independent courts to deal with financial crimes, etc. Do we have courts which deal with such issues?
Panopo, of course, I think it's quicker criminal division. Makota atu omweo, you know, makamaka high courts, you know, they can deal with offenses like this, you know. Zikayambira ku magistrates court, zimapangidwa refer kupita chani ku high court who can deal with any offense. Yes.
Ndiyeno timadzowa kuti awa awasangagwire ntchito okha. They need other institutions to support. Ndiziti zimene makambaba pa za fiscal police koma pali enaso ngati who help.
You see, mkayangana Financial Crimes Act yathu, you know, they are amachita list out amatika financial institutions, you know, who are obliged, you know, to look into these matters of money laundering, you know. I mean, the police, the Malawi Revenue Authority, you know, there are some of the institutions who are supposed even to report on even what they call suspicious transactions. The Anti-Corruption Bureau also play their part, because you see proceeds of let's say of corruption, you know, you need to launder them so that they yes, zizoneka za bwino, you know. I mean, institutions like even us lawyers, if there's some other suspicious transactions, we are supposed to, you know, to report, of course, although that there's this thing they call clients confidentiality, you know. So pamakara kuti pamakara so to conflict between of interest, then we've got even my agents, my state agents, you know, they are also those who are supposed even to look, you know, on these issues of money laundering. You know, there's just so many stakeholders, you know, who are supposed to look at these issues. You know, we have what they call reporting obligations. You know, somebody just comes, let's say, to your office with 300 million kwacha cash. you are supposed to transmit that information to the Financial Intelligence Authority. Because if you don't transmit that information, then yourself you will be liable. We have those what they call reporting obligations.
You are a partner in the crime.
Yes. Even in my banks, let's suppose somebody are in their account, my account mucha munaringati mwawa mangokhala 10,000 and then pena mzapezeke mu account yawo mwachirika 500 million yaikidwa, then that
you're supposed
to be reported to the Financial Intelligence Authority. Because if you don't, then there are penalties, 10 million kwacha and perhaps imprisonment for 10 years. So I mean that's the thing, you are required to report.
Okay, yeah. The Malawi hit a branch in terms of fighting these crimes. You've been around, you've been handling such cases before, you took part in the formulation of the laws, you were consulted. How has Malawi been doing in terms of dealing with this, with these crimes?
I would say we have made tremendous progress, considering where we have come from. You can find that with the cash gate cases, people were apprehended, although of course others haven't been convicted, but others have been convicted. Others cases are still pending, and also you know that in some cases there have been restitution. So I would think that Malawi is in the right path, on the right path, in fighting the money laundering. What
would you propose? Would you propose anything? Where would you advise that Malawi improves in terms of the law? Everything is okay. That's okay as things stand.
You see, our law was enacted in the year 2006. It is still developing. I don't know. Perhaps the Financial Intelligence Authority should also be given prosecution powers that themselves they can prosecute cases, or go on their own. Perhaps instead of just referring the matters to the director of public prosecutions. I mean, it's an area which perhaps we need to look at.
Okay.
And as the law develops, and I think, and as it gets tested and tried in court, I mean, perhaps it will come out, which areas really we have to look at.
Mr. Jai Banda, the Constitution. Tilegere bamenepo sabata ino, maprogramu ena anga romwe wa kufika ini sabata zilutsazi inendewa.